Guys, welcome to Sunday Night Live. I'm your host, Jason, and with me is my Canton crew. To my left, your right, I've got Justin Stevens.
What's up?
AKA Justin FF _. I've got George Reed, the Big Easy.
The Big Easy.
And the Frito Bandito, Rich himself. We are live here from Canton, Ohio. Just got done at the FF Expo. We had a booth today, lots of stuff to talk about. But before we get to that, I do have to call out the man who knows it all, Joe Clark. Joe's not live with us. He's still in the corner. He's in the Giants corner. How you doing, Joe?
Someone's got a man New York Giants corner at all times. It's like a foxhole over here. But I'm sorry I couldn't join you guys in Canton, but I wish I was there. But I know you had a great time. And as always, and I just wish I were there. But I'm happy I can join you guys for the show tonight. Sunday Night Live, baby.
We miss you as well, Joe. We definitely miss you. Look, we had a while you weren't here, we had a draft where we did the Fun Day draft that'll be coming out on the network here soon, where we drafted some Hall of Fame players to our lineups.
Joe was on that
Joe was invited to that show. I think it was 2:00 in the morning when we finished, so I pretty much forgot that Joe was there.
I didn't have one sip of alcohol that night, and I still felt hungover the next morning.
It was incredible time. But I also want to say, D now says, fellas, he was nice enough to join us for our live Frankenstein draft that we held this. And so we all got to meet Dennis, and it's nice. He called us all out. It was nice to meet us, except for Frito. Apparently, he's not a fan. So,
hey, just on a short note, we met your twin brother today.
Yeah, and also speaking on a short note, good call.
So before we get started with this week's news and notes, I do want to mention that Toilets Titles has all kinds of stuff going on. We have shows every day of the week. Sunday Night Live is going to go through the preseason and end because we're not going to counter program to the NFL. But that will start, week 1 will start our start and sit show that we're going to do every Sunday morning. It's going to be me, Frito, and George, and we'll have guests that want to come on, but we'll be helping your fantasy team on live start sit every Sunday morning. It's going to be absolutely awesome. Also, we have shows live every week. You guys know it by now. We've had so much content this offseason. Imagine what we're going to have in the regular season to help you get through your fantasy and NFL season. Not to mention, of course, we have all the prime team shows where we have the Giants corner. We have the Duval show for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Coach has the Cowboys show on Sundays. We have a Rams show. We have College Football Nation. We have so many shows. Of course, we have the title show on Tuesdays. We have so much going on. So stick with us, and we're going to get you through the season. And then the last little bit of information I'm going to give out is I'm going to let Justin do the spiel on rival fantasies because he's been doing it all week, and he's just about hoarse from saying it. So go ahead, Justin.
So my throat is absolutely shot, but it's from giving this spiel 40,000 times. Here's what's amazing, though. Like, as many times as I've given the spiel, every one of you guys have too. So the word is out there. Anyhow, it's rival fantasy. And also I want to apologize to everybody because we're still super tired. Like, it's not going to be much better than it was when we recorded the Fun Day Draft show. But we're going to try our best to maintain our bearings. But it's rival fantasy. It's joinrival.com/title tribe. So joinrival.com/title tribe. And what happens is when you get a text from George and he knows it dings. All right, we are going to keep no professional bearing for this episode. Right in the middle of a
live show.
Not only a live show, but a sponsorship read. So I apologize for his actions, Rival. It's joinrival.com/title tribe. Your very first deposit of up to $200 is going to be matched. Plus, you get an additional $25 free money to add to your account just for using that code, joinrival.com/titletribe. Now, the way this works, there's 3 different ways to gamble, but the one way that's really super fun that everybody today at Canton absolutely loved, and I think we've gotten several signups today because of it, is that bingo game. Rival does a fantasy bingo game. Here's how it works. Let's say you can choose a lineup of any player you want, any of them. All of the best players. There's no salary cap or anything like that. So you can have Josh Allen, and you can have Tyreek Hill.
Thanks to the best players. Why you said Josh Allen?
Because Pat Mahomes is on bye that week. So you can have all the best players you possibly want. And then you get, once you hit submit, you get this randomized bingo card. And on that bingo card, it's going to have a list of achievements, right? So let's say one of the achievements is that your quarterback throws a touchdown in the second quarter. So then if you have Josh Allen and he throws a touchdown in the second quarter, then you fill that square in the bingo card. You fill enough bingo squares, then you win the game. You win bingo, you're going to get a portion of the money. At the end of the week, whatever money is left in that pot rolls over to the next week. And when you win, you're winning a percentage of that overall pot. So each week you win more and more money. And it's only $1 per bingo card, guys. Every single time I did this little spiel to everybody today, as soon as I said it was only $1 a card, they said, give me that link. Because it's fun gambling for just $1. So trust me, you're going to have a blast with it. It's joinrival.com/titletribe.
So I will say my favorite thing about Join Rival is that you can play head-to-head against your friends and your family. And what George just did there was well played, and I think Rival will say that George won this round.
You may have won the battle, but you will not win the war.
So, and I would have normally apologized for the shenanigans of me texting Justin during his spiel on Rival, but these kind of shenanigans have been going on all weekend long.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to stop now. This is just what you're getting when we all get together. So if you're in Canton and you want to be a part of the shenanigans, hit us up. You can come hang out with us. We'll have a good time. You'll laugh your butt off. It's just this weekend has been amazing.
Like, for instance, George keeps falling asleep, and he almost lost his beard because of it tonight.
Which would have been cool because then I would have gone to jail for killing a minor. It's just the craziest things happen.
All right, guys, one last thing. Patreon.com/toiletstitles if you want to jump into our Patreon. And then, of course, YouTube.com/toiletstitles. Follow us on YouTube. Subscribe. All right, we're going to get into the news and notes for the preseason this week. The first thing I wanted to mention is that Joe Burrow appears to be ready and available for week 1 from his calf injury. He's on schedule to be able to play week 1 after there was some panic. You know, we did some live drafts this week, and I heard from a couple people after Burrow got drafted, I don't know if I'd take him. He's probably not going to play for 2-3 weeks. Well, it looks like he's healed and ready to play. So, guys, are you worried at all? And I'm going to start all the way to my left, and we're going to work around. Are you worried at all about Joe Burrow week 1 with this news? Could this just be smoke?
Yeah, no, I'm not worried at all. Like, it's not going to affect my my rankings on him. I did notice in some of our drafts that he was even dropping a couple spots, and they were still saying that you just said. So the thing is like, if we're this close to week 1 and they're already saying that there's a high likelihood that he's going to play, even if he plays with it a little tweak, I don't think he does play with it a little tweak. Like, it's week 1. They can take a loss and it not affect the whole season. So they're going to be super precautious with it. And if they're already talking like he might play, then he's going to play. And if he doesn't, then it's just because they're just being extra precautious, and he'll be ready by week 2, week 3. Like, it'll be early enough that it's not going to matter.
I do have to pause the show only for one moment. I apologize for this. This is a personal thing, but
I know I mispronounced it.
No. Hey, Eli. I appreciate you watching, buddy. I love you. I miss you from Canton. So,
Eli,
what's up, buddy?
I'm gonna see you tomorrow, dude. So I love you. All right, sorry guys. Miss my son.
you can always interrupt the podcast for a message like that to your son. No.
All right.
I
so
want to know what Eli has to say about Joe Burrow.
Eli doesn't know anything about Joe Burrow, but Eli, if you want to talk to Justin later about Roblox, he wants to hear it. Okay, dude.
I was about to say, if Joe Burrow played Roblox or Paw Patrol or Bluey, Eli knows all about it.
Eli, if you want to talk Paw Patrol, I got your back, buddy.
All right, George, Joe Burrow.
I'll make it short so we don't go like an hour and 20 minutes tonight. There was never any really indications that Joe Burrow would miss any time from when he first sustained the injury. Not surprised they're saying he'll be ready to go week 1. I didn't adjust him at all in any of my personal rankings. It's not really news to me. It's what was expected the whole time.
Rich, you agree?
I agree. I am not worried about it until I have to worry about it. So that's simple. That's sweet.
And I see Joe nodding his head. I'm going to take that as agreement, right?
Yeah, same here. It doesn't affect my draft ranking on him. If he's ready to go, I'm ready to draft him.
All right, thanks, Joe. Sorry, my son keeps typing. All right.
Give us those comments, Eli.
So Jonathan Taylor is expected back at Colts training camp this week, but first, a couple notable points. Jonathan Taylor's position has not changed. He still wants to be traded. And 2, he communicated to the team that he'll only play in practice when he's 100%. He doesn't want to hurt himself for a team that he doesn't feel like he's going to play for. So normally I'd start with Justin, but this one's fun not to. So we're going to start with Frito.
Yeah, so there's talks that he's supposed to be back this week and everything. I think this is a lot of talk. I think once the football meets the field and everything, he'll be out there to play. That's what they do. They got to do everything they can to really push to the end to try to get what they want and stuff like that. Majority of the time, they're going to be there ready to play and everything. Unless you're Josh Jacobs, look, another situation and stuff like that. But this is kind of went in a different direction and everything. Jonathan Taylor, he'll be ready to play and stuff like that. He's going to have to be out there. And if he wants to play for another team, he's going to have to show him he's ready to go.
Joe, we'll go with you next.
Yeah, I agree with everything that Rich just said. Doesn't my draft stock on Jonathan Taylor is as it was before, and it's all good to go. He's going to play, and then I'm going to be looking to draft him along with Joe Burrow.
All right, Justin.
I think it's going to be a pretty ballsy move if he misses any time due to any kind of a holdout. Now, I will admit that, yes, last season when he wasn't 100%, but he probably still could have played, he didn't play. And that's because his number one commodity is himself. So he does want to keep himself healthy. So for that reason, yeah, it is a little bit concerning if he's not 100% physically. But at the same time, he tried to claim that he wasn't at all injured whenever Irsay was saying that he was, and he hasn't been practicing, and now all of a sudden he's injured. So, I mean, there's a lot of back and forth there. I don't think he's really actually injured, and I think that that's all smoke from both sides. And when it comes down to it, he has to play because this is his rookie contract. If he doesn't play, then that pushes back the length of that contract, and he's got to be a Colt even longer. And on that, the last year of that contract, I think he plays. I think he at least gets offered a new contract by the Colts, but at least at some point this season. And I think that he may turn it down to see where he can go somewhere else. But for this season, I'm just fine with him right where he's at.
So I'm going to put this up because Steve has a great point here, and I know not everybody can read it, but Steve says, I have great concerns about the Colts medical staff. Luck wasn't happy with them. Leonard wasn't happy with them, and now Taylor's not happy with them. So just something to consider.
Yeah, fair point.
Medical staff isn't doing the players justice. It's not great.
And I think most Colts fans would agree with that.
Well, yeah, you got 3 of the top players in recent team history all not happy with the medical staff. They should take it under advisement. So this is just a happy bit of news and notes. It's DeMar Hamlin played in the Bills preseason opening game. Like, it's not something on that game last year. It's not something we'd see anytime soon, and especially not like the very first preseason game. I think he registered like 4 tackles. So just good news. We don't have to talk about it besides saying very cool for the Bills medical staff, and great job by everybody all around. The Seahawks running back Kenneth Walker returned to practice. He's been out since the first day of training camp, but there he was. He didn't actually go to any of the team drills. It was just position drills. So he's not actually practicing in full yet, but it's a good sign that he's back on the field with his groin.
I'm glad you brought the groin with him to practice.
Well, I was gonna since it is groin talk, I was gonna go to George first.
So first off, Kenneth Walker, really glad you brought your groin to work.
Imagine leaving your groin at home.
I mean, no, we're not going to go there. So this doesn't really concern me that much. Like, yeah, I'm concerned with the soft tissue issues, the groins, the hamstrings, the ankles. Those are things, especially with running backs, easily to get injured repeatedly. Him being back doing the possession drills for me is a good sign that he's on track to start the season. Especially with Charbonnet expected to miss some time due to his injury. Pete Carroll did come out a couple days ago, said that Walker's injury was really considered minor, that it wasn't anything major anyway. So I'm glad he's back, and I think that he'll be full go by the time the season starts.
All right. Does anybody have anything to add with that, Joe? You got anything from across the country?
By the way, I want to say, just real quick, I want to say Joe he's actually at the Toilets and Titles mansion in New Jersey. He's got a whole room in the mansion where he does the New York corner, the Giants corner of the mansion. Like literally, there's a whole corner of the mansion that is all Joe's. And that's where he's at right now.
And that's where his wife can stay.
Yes.
Listen, I have an opinion on everything and anything, which I could give on Kenneth Walker, but I'll leave it alone. Listen, I mean, I am worried about him, and we'll see how it goes. But he's kind of like not really on my radar right now in the like round 1 or 2. So we'll see.
Yeah, I guess the thing there is he wasn't 100% healthy all of last year. He did have some injuries in the season. So,
in my mind, he's kind of getting that injury prone tag, and maybe I'm jumping the gun on that. But
all right, you know what I'm going to do, because I haven't heard Rich's beautiful voice in a little bit. So I'm going to skip to the bottom of our list, and I'm going to talk about the thing that Rich put on here. That after multiple reports of the Raiders defense making play after play in practices with the 49er, it seemed to have trickled over to the Raiders and 49ers preseason game. Trey Lance did not look good, and rookie Alan O'Connell did manage to look good for the Raiders. So, Rich, let's talk about your Raiders.
Yes, let's talk about the Raiders.
The Raiders.
So look, I know it's the Raiders. Everybody wants to talk, but look, they had practice all week with the 49ers, and reports coming out that the defense is like really aggressive with the addition of Marcus Peters, and he's kind of bringing that go get him attitude with Max Crosby, and multiple interceptions every day and stuff like that. And to hear that and then actually see it come fruition out with this weekend's game and stuff like that, it kind of brings hope for Raider Nation and everything. Look, I get it, preseason and everything, but it's good to hear, the good things that are coming out of camp for them after all the changes. This defense might be a lot better than what a lot of people think, and if they're going toe-to-toe with their starters, look, it's a good sign, and I'm excited now. Trey Lance, I know they've been talking. He came out, started the game for the 49ers. Didn't look too good and everything. Sam Darnold, he actually came in and played kind of the same way. Now, is it truly because they're just not looking good preseason, or is it the Raiders just stepping up and trying to get off on a good foot for this season and everything? So it's good to hear stuff like that.
So I think for everybody else, I wanted Rich to get Rich's opinion on the Raiders, but I think for everybody else, the story is Trey Lance and how he looked terrible. Now, his stat line looked okay by the end. It was 10 for 16 with a touchdown, 110 yards, I believe. But if you watch the touchdown, which most of us saw here on replay, the touchdown was it was like it should have been intercepted, was batted up into the air right into the hands of a 49ers defender. It was the most fluky touchdown you could have seen. So, Justin, you and I were talking about what the 49ers gave up for Trey Lance and how it kind of looks like it's going to be egg on their face. Do you think there's any way they can salvage that pick?
No, I don't. I've never been a huge believer in Trey Lance, and it started back with the fact that he couldn't really play very much in college. Like, if you're not going to play that much in college, and I mean, such a short period of time. Sure, he had some games where he looked super athletic and he looked like he could pull it off, but he didn't have enough track record for us to be able to say that he was going to make it in the NFL. The NFL is a totally different game. It's so much faster. The defenses are built and they have the ability to change to suit. Like, for instance, when you're playing in college and you go up against a certain type of quarterback, that defense is only so good. They can only change their defense so much to change from week to week to a different style of a quarterback. But in the NFL, they're really good at being able to change the way they play the defense, no matter what the type of quarterback it is. And he doesn't have enough dimensions to his game to be able to say that he's going to do it. So I've never been big on him, and they spent all of that draft capital on him. That's why I think strongly there's a good chance that they're going to try to force feed him the opportunity. He's not going to be able to do the most with it because he's just not that good at football, and Brock Purdy's going to be the guy.
And look, Shay tweeted that, says San Francisco sucks. That's coming from a Rams fan.
Yeah, well, I mean, I wouldn't say San Francisco sucks. I can say that I do feel pretty strongly that Trey Lance is not that good at professional football.
Yeah, that was the dumbest. That really was the dumbest trade ever. I remember when they, and it's not just in hindsight either. It was stupid at the time.
Joe,
Getting
I
wrapped up.
That was not the stupidest trade ever. Miami, chef's kiss on that, okay? We're both hands here. That was a phenomenal trade.
Oh, gotcha. Well, no, hey, it was wonderful for Miami, but still, you know what? But here we are, listen, we're knocking that trade up, and rightfully so. It was stupid. But here they are. San Francisco is still one of the best teams in the NFL. So it doesn't seem to have affected them that much.
So the problem with Trey Lance really is, other than the lack of being able to actually play football both at a college level and a professional level, is there's been no progression. Like, we haven't seen him progress or get any better at all. Like, he looks as bad today as he did his rookie season when he first came to the NFL and was playing in preseason games as a rookie. Like, he's looked bad, and he hasn't been able to show progression. He hasn't been able to show he can go through reads. He hasn't been able to show that he can understand and read a defense, which at the NFL level for a quarterback is, it's kind of important. And I think there's extra scrutiny being placed on him. No fault of his own, mind you, but because San Francisco did trade 3 first-round picks for him. So every little thing he's doing, because of the capital that was spent to trade up to get him by San Francisco, is even more scrutiny placed upon him, which is that's not his fault, but it's just. Go ahead, Joe.
I'm sorry, George. I was just gonna, piggyback on what you were saying. I agree with you. Like, I'm not scrutinizing Trey Lance. He is who he is.
Yep.
It's not his fault. It was the trade, that was criticizing. It made no sense. It's like, why not trade up to take Malik Willis? And why not trade up, multiple first-round picks to get Malik Willis? And Malik Willis would have made more sense, to be honest with you. At least the guy played.
And don't give me this crap about how Trey Lance was playing with the backup players, and that might be why you look bad, because he was playing against not only backup players, but the Raiders' backup players of all teams. So.
Now, why are the Raiders catching strays? That's not cool.
It's only because I'm here. I get it.
The one thing we do have
They're still salty because I didn't take a shot with them.
The one thing we do have to remember, and I'm not going to take any shots at the Raiders, Rich. I'm not. At least not on this subject. We have to remember also Trey Lance is only 23 years old. Like, he'll complete this entire season being 23 years old. He just turned 23 in May. So he's still relatively young. There is still time for him to learn the game of football and to learn to be able to play at a high level. Sometimes it takes a few years for these guys to learn and for everything to click. I mean, Geno Smith. Really? Geno Smith, he didn't learn to play the game until he was 32 years old, is where he actually started to show he can play at a high level. So there is opportunities there, and I do believe he's on the right team to learn this. The coaching staff there is phenomenal. The team is a loaded team. Like they're a very good team. So when he's got all the pieces around him, there is going to be opportunities. But he's just going to be able to show that he can progress and learn to read a defense.
Yeah, and he'll be able to learn a lot from Brock Purdy.
Correct.
All right, guys.
Or Sam Darnold.
I do want to mention also that Shay says Bennett is better than any San Francisco QB room. Look, I know you guys are high on Stetson Bennett. I mean, the guy's an 8-year senior. I know he's probably more mature. He's probably 7 years older than Trey Lance at this point.
He could be Trey Lance's dad.
He could at this point. So Sony Michel had a whole NFL career, won 2 Super Bowls in the time that Stetson Bennett was still in college. So,
Yep.
like, I get it. He looked okay in preseason, but let's slow the Stetson Bennett thing down just a little
No,
bit.
man, I think the Raiders should, or the 49ers should trade away 3 first-round picks for Bennett.
They would if they could.
So you have to pull this comment up because I want that one to be shown. Oh, right there. Jason's son. I saw what you said about Paw Patrol earlier, and I want to say, frick you.
Oh.
But I thought you said good. Maybe he doesn't like Paw Patrol anymore. Maybe he's too old for it. I don't know.
Oh, maybe.
And then his next comment is, sorry about my language.
That's okay. That's okay. You are Jason's son, so I completely understand.
I mean, he said frick, so I'm okay with it.
And I will say Eli is much cooler than Jason.
So, and apparently there's a meteor shower tonight, and I appreciate you updating all the football fans on the meteor shower.
Yes. Thank you, Eli.
Thank you, Eli. I love you. The show's going a little different than I expected it to, but I'm still enjoying every moment.
Am I the only one who thinks we should get Eli to comment on every show for going forward? Like the insight that kid and the wisdom that he is displaying is top notch. Like Eli, every show from now on, we need you.
Carte blanche. All right. I'm thrown off again. Russell Wilson's had 2 balls batted down at the line and had several. Had it happen several times in camp. The offense had 4 series against the Cardinals, and 3 drives were really bad. Sean Payton left the first-team offense out there against the Cardinals backups for a 4th drive, and they finally scored. So things going exactly the way they left off last year. Clayton Tune had a rough start, missing 4 makeable throws to receivers that had separation, but finished with a respectable drive in the 3rd quarter to close out his NFL preseason debut. So we all expected it to get better for Peyton or for Wilson with Peyton on board. So far, not so good. We'll let Joe talk first.
Yeah, happy to. It's scary. I thought, listen, it's a good thing they got Sean Payton. He's a great coach. I still thought I think Russell Wilson's looked bad, very bad for a long time now. It wasn't just last year. I thought he looked bad his last year and a half in Seattle. And I figured maybe, I was concerned with him then. And I figured maybe I thought the move to Denver would be better for him and that, maybe we'd see the old Russ again. But he looked like absolute crap last year. And yes, I realized they had a really bad head coach. And it wasn't just the head coach. I saw some of his games. He looked horrible. And I was hoping, I wasn't counting on, I wasn't saying take this to the bank, but I assume maybe, the new coach coming in, Sean Payton was going to, it could make things better for him. But I'd say at best it was going to be 50-50. Hey, listen, this is the first preseason game. It doesn't mean that, anything's written in stone, but he is a veteran. It is the first preseason game. He's going against like 2nd, 3rd, 4th string players. It doesn't sound good at all. And you know what? I mean, listen, I think the dude's toast. I think he's done. I could be wrong, but I think he's done, Russ Wilson.
All right, well, so Russ Wilson's getting balls batted down because he's not the tall one. So I'm going to go with our other not the tall one, Rich. Why don't you go next, buddy?
Yeah, so what's the saying that a great QB, if you put players around the QB to make them players better, skill players. If it's a true MVP caliber QB, they make the whole team better in all situations and everything. That's not the case. Look, Russell Wilson is not making anybody better on this team. And it's been that sign, just like Joe was saying and stuff like that. If he was a truly MVP QB, he'd be able to take his team on his back. They got solid players. They might not got the best player, but they got solid players around him, and he should be able to elevate the whole team to be able to produce and stuff like that. Just because Peyton's coming in, hey, there's another reason why, hey, it should be a better team. You know what? Russell Wilson needs to make this a better team and make them look better, and that's not the case. And I'm totally happy with that in this division.
All right, we're just gonna leave it at that.
No, we're not.
All right, go
No,
ahead.
we're not, because I want to make a comparison. So we can all agree at one point in time, Russell Wilson was an MVP quarterback, right? Very good, high level, playing at a high level.
Absolutely.
And then he fell off rather quick. Can we all agree to that?
Yeah.
Okay, same thing's going to happen to Aaron Rodgers because he went to the Jets. I'm done. Next.
I don't know.
I disagree.
I don't know
Yeah,
how-
I disagree too.
I don't know how Aaron Rodgers.
Russell Wilson fell off 2.5 years ago. I'm telling you, wasn't just last year.
Listen, Rodgers had a horrible year last year. That decline in quarterbacks.
You could be right. He's George. He is 37 years old. That could be the case. I have a feeling. Well, I have a feeling that him going to New York is going to rejuvenate him. I don't. You know what? Let me just put it this way. I don't feel concerned about Aaron Rodgers. Like I did have concern with Russell Wilson when he went to Denver. I did think things would get better for Russell Wilson. I did, but I still had some concerns. Like I said, the last year and a half in Seattle, he didn't look good. I don't have those concerns with Aaron Rodgers. Maybe it's just like a gut feel. I guess it's a gut feeling thing. I'll be back in a little bit.
Bye, Joe.
Potty break.
All right. So next on our list is Justin Fields going 3 for 3 with 129 yards and 2 touchdowns versus the Titans. A 62-yard touchdown pass to DJ Moore and a 56-yard touchdown pass to Khalil Herbert. It lit the fantasy football world on fire, talking about how Justin Fields learned how to pass. But both were screens behind the line of scrimmage. One which he almost missed pretty badly. Only DJ Moore making a decent play on the ball meant he caught it. Justin Fields apologists have said, well, he threw it behind him so the blockers had time to set up the blocks. That was on purpose. So with that said, I am now excited for DJ Moore and Khalil Herbert. That's where that goes. Now, not so much that Justin Fields is going to be a great down the field passer, but it looks like the Bears offensive coaches are working on ways to get their talent makers play on the field. The real downside in all this is for everybody who really likes Khalil Herbert, all of a sudden his ADP is going to go up on the rise. Now, one thing I found funny, and we can talk about whatever we want to talk about with these two. I'll start with George since he has something to say about everything, including Aaron Rodgers, which wasn't a topic. The thing I'll say, I totally made a joke and completely forgot what I was going to say. Well, you know what? We'll just go to George because I'm so wiped out.
That's
Go ahead. You go. You take it.
So imagine this scenario. You got a young, struggling quarterback in his rookie season. A couple years later, gets a very talented wide receiver in Stephon Diggs. All of a sudden, he becomes an elite quarterback. You got this other young rookie quarterback, a little bit struggling. Can't stay on the field a whole lot. A couple of years later, he gets Tyreek Hill, and he also has a Jalen Waddle. All of a sudden, he's a semi-elite quarterback when he plays, okay? Same thing is happening with Justin Fields. He struggled last year. This year, they went out. They added a very talented wide receiver in DJ Moore. And all of a sudden, who knew Justin Fields could actually play the quarterback position and throw the ball? It's almost as if going out and getting an elite or near elite level wide receiver. I don't consider DJ Moore an elite wide receiver. He is a near elite level wide receiver to me. So, but who knew going out getting an actual top tier, close to elite wide receiver, DJ Moore, would actually help Justin Fields be a better quarterback. Like this stuff is not rocket science. If you have a young, struggling quarterback, go out and get him a real wide receiver and let's see what they can do. It's almost like this is a proven method that has worked time and time again recently in the NFL.
So what you're saying is all Trey Lance needs.
All Trey Lance needs is an elite level wide receiver and some more practice time. Maybe, and who knew this, he should go to Chicago and get with their coaching staff and they could teach him how to play quarterback.
The thing I did want to mention right before George talked is Khalil Herbert mentioned that he didn't want to get tackled. The reason he fought so hard to not get tackled is they have a fine system amongst players. If you get tackled on a long run inside the 5, you have to pay an internal fine. So I guess
That's awesome.
I don't think he should have came out and said that he's going to be fined, because I know it's not imposed by the team. It's amongst the players. I get that.
It's a players.
But I think he should have went more along the lines of, we have a rule that if you get tackled within the 5-yard line on a long play, you're responsible for the team dinner. For the running back room.
He's like, I did not want that to happen. I mean, so to me, it's funny because like I just wouldn't want to get tackled because I'd want to score the touchdown. But I guess the fine is more important. So Rich, you got anything on the Bears here?
Look, George said it. Give him a receiver. If he can throw every pass 2 yards behind the line and it goes for 40, 50 yards, all of a sudden you're going to see his passing stats go up. If he can still run, and hopefully he's going to run like he normally does, this makes Justin Fields even more dangerous. Look, yards after catch makes a quarterback look amazing and everything. So, look, that's what this was today, and that's what we need. Look, we're not asking for him to go out and throw long bombs. We're going to see some and everything. We just need him for the receivers and the tight ends and the running backs to do their thing and make their quarterback look good in this situation.
Yeah. Listen, good wide receivers always make quarterbacks look better. It's that's always been true. So I think Justin Fields, getting him some really good weapons, especially DJ Moore, is important for any quarterback, like you guys have said. And I believe in Justin Fields. I mean, exactly how good he's really going to be, I don't know. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I just don't know. But I definitely think he's going to be a quality NFL caliber quarterback, starting caliber quarterback for a very long time.
All right, guys. I'm sorry. I'm dealing with family stuff because my son said frick and now my wife's yelling at him. So, anyway. Rachaad White. According to Rick Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times, second-year running back Rachaad White, basically the only running back on the team, buckled and fell without contact and came up limping after taking a handoff in practice. He walked off the sideline under his own power and received attention from the trainers. Later, he tweeted, "Stop worrying. I'm fine. Everything's fine." So it sounds like it was a little bit of the heat finally getting to him, 99-degree heat in Tampa today. He fell with a really severe leg cramp, something he's not used to. So for all of those like Rich who have basically staked their whole fantasy season on Rachaad White, this is really, really good news because Rich has him just about everywhere, has claimed him as a planted his flag on him. So
yes. Hey, so real quick, look, I've been buckling all weekend here, going up and down these stairs, walking all over the place. Look, it's going to happen and stuff like that, and I'm still carrying on like a trooper. These are athletes and stuff like that. Look, I get it, injuries happen and stuff, but don't automatically assume when someone buckles on the field that they're going out and stuff like that. It's great to hear Rachaad White saying that he's good, and I will go back and state if he stays healthy, he's a top 5 running back this year.
all right, anybody else got anything on Rachaad White? I think we're, since he's healthy, we're good there. And we'll move on to Anthony Richardson. Completed 7 of his 12 passes for 67 yards and an interception in his team's 23-19 loss to the Bills in a preseason action on Saturday. I've heard both sides from people that I trust in their football knowledge. I didn't actually get to watch Richardson. I know one pass went deep and the ball kind of got dropped. I've heard some people say he looked, if that was completed, you'd think completely different about his day.
Yep.
But I've heard other people say that he didn't look all that sharp. Now he's a rookie who didn't play a lot in college, Trey Lance, making his season or preseason debut with an NFL team. I am going to let Justin start because he's a Colts fan, and he might have actually tortured himself and watched some of these plays.
Yeah, so the Trey Lance comparison is fair because of the lack of the experience, but he is definitely a much more athletic quarterback, a much better quarterback overall. Still not worth 3 first-round picks, but and Joe has been trying his best to steer me onto the Anthony Richardson side, and I've been down on it ever since they drafted him. Admittedly, he did not look as bad as I thought he was going to for his first time. And that interception, I do feel like, okay, I've seen people talking both ways about the interception, but from my vantage point, from a guy that's just watching a football play, he was trying to throw the ball off of his back foot while backpedaling in a play that really didn't matter, and threw it in the direction of a wide receiver that was across the field. So some people were saying that there was confusion about the play on the wide receivers play, or on the wide receivers part. That's just an excuse, because even if he would have been there, the defender was still right there. It was still a bad throw in a bad spot, but it was just one throw in his first ever preseason game. And other than that, he actually looked a lot better than I had anticipated. And it's still just a preseason. So either way, I haven't really changed my mind about him, but I don't feel worse about him. That's for sure. So for fantasy purposes, I still like the guy.
So here's the difference between, I know they made a Trey Lance reference and stuff. Here's the difference. Trey Lance played, North Dakota?
Yeah.
Anthony Richardson played for the Florida Gators. Two different caliber leagues, division, however you want to call it, and stuff like that. Look, now, yeah, you can see some of the plays. Look, some of the plays were off and stuff like that, okay? Wasn't right there and everything. But the fact that there was that one play that he made, that long pass downfield, if the receiver would have caught it and stuff like that, that would have been changing the different aspect of the comments that we're talking about today. So, look, every QB is going to have some misses and stuff like that, especially for a rookie coming in and stuff like that. Look, it's what we expected and stuff like that. I'm excited about what I saw and stuff like that. And he could only grow from here and everything. A whole different aspect than the Trey Lance as far as, oh, he only played for 1 year. Different caliber players he played against.
I got it, Jason. You just
we can keep playing with the notes. Got it.
You and Justin have your little side conversation. It's fine, okay? Here's the thing with Anthony Richardson, and I mentioned it earlier with Justin Fields. He's a young quarterback, happens to be a rookie, has a very strong, talented arm, did play in the SEC, as Rich alluded to, so the competition is much greater than what Trey Lance faced in his college career. The problem is he needs a elite or near elite wide receiver. And I know people like Michael Pittman, and if, at least for fantasy purposes, I like Michael Pittman. He's supposed to be this great wide receiver. I don't think so. I think Michael Pittman is at best a wide receiver 2 on, I would say, 90% of the teams in the NFL. He's not a true wide receiver 1 for a team. I think he needs somebody across from him to where he can face that secondary cornerback, and that's where he will excel. So I think as long as Anthony Richardson has these issues going on with the best weapon on the field being JT, not being there, being injured and requesting a trade, and all that drama that's going on with that, and not actually having a true alpha wide receiver on the team, I think we're going to continue to see him struggle. It'll be nice to see what happens in year 2 with him, and if the Colts actually go out and get him that elite or near elite wide receiver, that's when I think we'll see what Anthony Richardson can really be. And I think for the long term for the Colts, I think he's going to be a very, very, very good quarterback for them.
And I agree. I think the Colts got the best quarterback in this draft. I think he's going to have a very good long career. You got to be patient year 1. You have to be. That's it. Full stop.
And since you brought up the wide receiver position, I'll go ahead and knock out another item on the list here. I think that there's a strong possibility. Now, I'm not planting my flag here about Josh Downs necessarily, but I have a lot of high hopes for that guy. I really think there's a solid opportunity for him.
Oh, yeah.
And now he's a little bit smallish, but we had solid wide receiver ones in T.Y. Hilton and Marvin Harrison that were on the smaller side as well. So, and obviously he's not going to be anything like them. Don't hear what I'm not saying. But I think there's a strong chance that he could be solid enough to be that other guy on the other side of Pittman to help excel both of them in this offense, as long as they continue to remain a run-heavy offense and only utilize them when they need to. So I'm excited. I'm more excited about Josh Downs right now than I am Anthony Richardson.
So
Downs is going to be really good.
the one thing, and I agree, Steve made a comment, and I absolutely agree with it. Let Justin, not Justin, sorry, not you.
No, go ahead.
Not
Yeah,
Justin Fields, not you.
I'll do what I can.
Let Justin be quarterback for the Colts for the year.
Never
Let him
mind.
get the experience.
Never mind.
let Richardson get the experience. Let him roll him out as your starter for this year. Know that it is going to be a project with him. He's going to get very valuable reps. He's going to get very valuable game time, but he's going to struggle, which is acceptable. That Colts team is, no offense to Justin and Rich and everybody else currently in the room that is a Colts fan. Hi, Steve. Or Sam. The Colts are just a bad team. They are a bad team. They're not good on defense. They're probably not going to be very good on offense. Their best player on offense doesn't really want to be there. Best thing is let them get the game time experience. Next year in the draft, you should probably have a decent draft pick. If you can get near the top 2 or 3, get Marvin Harrison Jr. He's going to be the best wide receiver in that class. He is going to be an absolute stud. You put him out there with Anthony Richardson, give him that true dominant wide receiver, and then now you look across. Now he's got Michael Pittman as his wide receiver 2. That bumps Downs down to wide receiver 3.
Or a slot receiver,
Or a
which
slot receiver.
he would be amazing at.
Which would be his natural fit.
Yeah.
So, that would be the best thing both for the Colts and for Richardson long term. But this year it's going to be, for NFL purposes, it's just going to be a beautiful disaster.
But they would take a defensive lineman.
Probably.
So just to clean up the last little bit on the Colts, Gardner Minshew completed all 6 of his passes for 72 yards in the 23-19 loss. Gardner Minshew looked good, but they are going to start. Everybody believes they're going to start Anthony Richardson when the season opens up. And why wouldn't you get him that experience? You know exactly what you have in Gardner Minshew.
Yep, career backup. Good backup. Don't get me wrong, he's a good backup, but he's a career backup.
So we got only a couple things left. We're kind of pushing on the 45 minutes that we usually go. I'm not going to give the individual stats, but what I can say is that the Baltimore Ravens have won their 20th straight preseason game. Which is an incredible feat that means nothing. But, the running backs without J.K. Dobbins look good. Gus Edwards, Melvin Gordon, and Justice Hill all got involved with a bunch of yards. So the Ravens offense, despite being a new, we all think, a pass-heavy offense, the running backs did look pretty good this preseason. Of course, Lamar Jackson didn't play, but their Pro Bowl starting
Pro Bowl starting quarterback from last year, Tyler Huntley
did start. So the last thing we've got on our list today, I might want to bring up Stetson Bennett just because we've got Shay watching. But Bryce Young completed 4 of 6 passes for 21 yards, and the Panthers lost to the Jets. They lost 27-0, and their offensive line looked like they were going to get Bryce Young killed today after a full team practice and meeting. The offensive line coach had to pull the offensive line aside and talk with them, had to sit them down and say, we need some real talk because what just happened can't keep happening. So that young quarterback, do you guys behind that offensive line, what you guys got to see, does anybody think that Bryce Young has a chance this season to do anything good? You know what? Frito's side, so we're going to go with Frito.
Yeah, look, I know it's one game, but I am so scared to hell from what I saw. I got 2 shares of them, and I am so scared of those shares right now just based off of what I saw. Hopefully, it goes a different direction. This is one of the things I'm going to have to wait and see. But, man, this is one of the things where it could ruin a quarterback if he goes through a whole season like this, a.k.a. David Carr.
Mm-hmm. Well, unfortunately, David had to go through a lot of seasons like that, and he just kept getting sacked. So, I mean, I don't think Bryce Young does anything this year, and I don't think that we should expect it either. That team isn't good. They don't have a whole lot around them. they're only putting him out there early to get that experience. So if the expectation of him is to only to go out there and gain experience, then it's not a whole lot of pressure on him as an individual. If the coaches are constantly coaching and doing the right things and being good coaches and letting them know that this is the plan all along. We just want you to gain experience. We want to get better draft picks. We want to build you for the future. We don't care so much about what happens now. He could eventually still be a really good quarterback. So I don't expect anything from him this year. I haven't drafted him anywhere just because of the supporting cast around him. And I was hoping that I could start drafting more if I started to gain some confidence. I've not gained confidence. And real quick, I want to touch on the running backs for the Ravens, just for fantasy purposes, because this is very fantasy relevant. The Ravens keep saying that they're going to throw the ball more. This past game, they ran the ball 28 times and threw the ball 31 times. So that ratio is a lot more than it traditionally has been for the Ravens as far as the passing game goes. So it would suggest after one preseason game that maybe they actually are going to throw the ball a little bit more because they want to run more of the offense that they're going to run this season. So that's something that's worth monitoring over the next 3 preseason games to see if their play call continues to be more pass heavy than usual, because then you got that fantasy relevance with Lamar and the passing game, and I think that would help the running game as well.
So I'm gonna let George keep putting up his finger. So I'm gonna let him talk. I guess you want to talk.
And it was
Ravens.
the correct finger this time.
And
I'm proud of you, buddy.
And then once that, we'll get back to. I want to ask Joe get back to the Panthers, and I'll ask Joe a question. So go ahead, George.
I want to touch on both the Ravens and the Panthers.
Okay, well,
I'll make them quick. I promise.
Gotcha.
So yes, they do want to pass more. They brought in a new offensive coordinator. I think it's Mike Munchak or whoever it is. They brought in a new coordinator. I can't remember right now. The Ravens brought in as their coordinator for the offense, but they got a brand new offensive coordinator. He does want to pass the ball. If you look at the weapons, Todd Monken, thank you. If you look at the Raiders wide receiver core, this is by far the best wide receiver core Lamar Jackson has ever played with. So it doesn't really surprise me that they're actually wanting to throw the ball more.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the Panthers and Bryce Young goes, yeah, Panthers are bad. They had the number 1 overall pick last year. You don't get the number 1 overall pick because you're a very good team.
I mean, they traded for that, but cool.
It doesn't matter. They gave up a lot for it. They're not going to be a very good team this year. They're not going to be a very good team next year. It is what it is. Don't be surprised. Nobody who's not for fantasy purposes, I don't think any of us were really outside of Dynasty leagues were drafting Bryce Young to be our starting quarterback anyway. At best, we were hoping maybe a back-end bye-week replacement, break glass in case of emergency, and Derek Carr or Jimmy Garoppolo unavailable on the waiver wire for some reason. Like, you could get either one of them, but, I mean, it is what it is. Bryce Young, depleted wide receiver core, bad offense, bad defense. He's not going to be very good this year.
So, Joe, the question I was going to ask you, based on everything we've all talked about, but what George just said as well, what do you think about Miles Sanders this year? Everybody has been talking about, hey, he's the number 1 running back on a team. He's going late. He can be a steal. But, man, looking at that offensive line collapse under pressure, and 2, potentially the lack of scoring. What do you think of Miles Sanders?
Yeah, I've never been high on Miles Sanders, and I'm definitely not high on him, since he's not on the Eagles anymore. I know a lot of people are high on him, but I'm not touching the guy. He's injury prone.
I remember Joe not being high on Miles Sanders in the past.
Yeah, listen, the dude's injury prone. He's injury prone, and now he's going from the best team in football in the Eagles to to one that's not so great. So I'm not touching on Miles Sanders. Is not on my radar at all. But I would like to add also something to Bryce Young. Bryce Young scared me coming out of the draft, being 5'10", and I'm very, very worried that this dude is going to get busted in half on the field. He's small, and listen, if he were normal quarterback size, say like a minimum like 6'3", maybe 6'2", I'd be like, oh yeah, he is the best quarterback in that draft, not Anthony Richardson. He's got all the tools, but he's really small. And he's like Kyler Murray size, but he's not a statue in the pocket, Bryce Young, but he doesn't have the escapability either of Kyler Murray. So I'm very worried about him. Not just this year with a really bad offensive line, seemingly really bad offensive line, but just going forward, in his career, I'm very, very worried about that guy. And that's why I wound up being one of the reasons why I wound up being the highest on Anthony Richardson. But Bryce Young scares me.
All right, and then the last little bit we're going to talk about is Stetson Bennett. I'm just going to throw it out there because we got Shea Watson. And guys, I do apologize for all the coughing. Normally, these guys would be able to mute, but the computer's across the room, so there's a lot more.
My apologies.
There's a lot more noise, coughing and sneezing than we normally have. It's been an interesting broadcast to say the least. But the last thing we'll talk about is Stetson Bennett. For Shea, he went. I just lost it. He went 11 for 19, I think, 191 yards and 2 touchdowns. Pretty good from a rookie in his first game playing against backups with his backups. So Stetson Bennett, the oldest rookie in league history, I think, or something by now.
I don't know. How old was Brandon Whedon?
Brandon Whedon's older. It's just,
How old was Cameron Wake when he came over from the European Football League?
So that's going to close us down, guys. Go ahead, Justin. It's not going to close us down.
Yeah, I just wanted to say one more thing, and this has to do with the team. So every single time that the Toilets and Titles team gets together, it's absolutely magical because I get to see these guys in action in person, and I get to see what they bring to the table. And we always have a great time. We always have fun. Every time we come to Canton, when we went to Alabama, and on top of having a great time, work always gets done as well, right? So we're building something very, very huge right now. We're growing super fast, and this is the reason why. When this team comes together, everything else gets thrown out, and it's whatever this team needs, and it's all about the team. So I wanted to take the opportunity to thank the guys that came out here and to thank the guys back at home because John's been working his butt off to try to keep up with all the different invites that are coming in, applications coming over from all the different platforms because we keep getting subscribers, we keep getting Patreon supporters and requests for the Gilded, and he's helping to keep all that organized. The other guys that have been holding down the fort doing their shows, like it's more than just right here. And this impressive group that I've had here with me here at Canton, it's also the guys back home, and it's absolutely amazing that every single time we get a huge jump in numbers, and it's not just because we're just coming up here and having a great time and just goofing off. Like we also put business to work, and I'm just super proud of the guys. I wanted to give you the opportunity to say how proud I am of the team. So that's all I got.
Can I add a little bit to that?
I figured you would.
Of course. So one thing that I want to just touch on what Justin said about how we're growing and how rapidly things are going. Like you'd be surprised how many people came up to us and was like, "Oh, Toilets Titles, I know you guys. I follow you on Twitter. I've seen your content. You guys do great work." Like we got that a lot this weekend at the Fantasy Football Expo, and it wasn't just from like other small account content creators. Like there were some pretty big content creators that we got to talk to and mingle with and talk shop with, and they recognized our brand, they recognized our logo, they recognized our name. So the content that all these guys do, the content that's being pushed out by the College Football Nation team, the content that's being put out there by Playing with House Money, like it's really being recognized within the industry, which is an amazing feeling. So, the work that Rich does, Jason, Justin, we got Coach Joe, you got Nino, like everybody is just crushing it right now. And it is definitely being recognized. We got the Ram show with Shea, just everybody's putting out amazing content, and it's definitely catching eyes on larger content creators and larger promotions.
Yeah, it's Joe unmuted. That's the second time, so I'm gonna let Joe go.
Oh no. Just listen. I agree with everything you guys said. It's been an incredible year. I've been with Toilets and Titles for a little over 2 years now, and the whole time it's been fantastic. But the growth over the past year, has been absolutely phenomenal. And just our work product gets better and better and better too. Our programs, our graphics, And we just have a great time doing it. And you look at our chat Gilded, how that's blowing up. Everyone's all psyched for, our Frankenstein League, which is just about to, start again for its, what is it, third season now, I believe. And it's been great to see the development. We're builders, we're creators over here, and it's a great thing to just see everything really coming to fruition and just grow.
Absolutely, Joe. I couldn't have said it better myself. It's been great being with this team. It's been great being up here in Canton. All these shows that we're putting out is getting noticed. Even Andrew Campy got called out by the Dynasty Trade Calculator guys when I went over and saw them. They're like, Toilets Titles, tell Campy I love that guy.
Yeah.
So Campy, they love you. We don't, but they do.
He's down there fighting kangaroos. I don't know.
And like George was saying, like it's almost to the point where it's hard for us to come to this place and get more subscribers and more followers because like we had a raffle for an awesome prize that Break from the Grind charitably donated, and they had to show us that they were following us on accounts, and they would go to pull it up and they'd be like, oh hey, I'm already following you, and then they'd pull it the next day, oh hey, I'm already following you. It's unbelievable. So we're gonna continue to evolve. That's what this team is all about. Our next step is to find a way to evolve into more of a demographic. We're gonna find a way to make that happen. We're gonna grow outside of the expo.
So, all right, guys, that's gonna do it. Unless I'm gonna, I don't want to short shrift Rich here who hasn't said anything. I'm gonna let Rich talk and then I'll close the show out. I don't want to short shrift my buddy here.
All I can say is great time down here. And the one thing that, look, we're all doing great things. Toilets Titles is blowing up like unreal. But hashtag Frank Stink, it freaking drew attention like no other. Everybody was walking by. They wanted to look at our board. They wanted to know what was going on with our draft. I'm telling you, this league right here is the next thing coming. If you ain't a part of it, make sure you're a part of it for next year.
All right, so that's going to wrap us up for Toilets Titles. Remember, we've got shows for you all week long. We go to toiletstitles.com to our website for articles and everything like that. Go to patreon.com/toiletstitles. We have Rival Fantasy, where you put in the code Title Tribe, and you can get an extra $25 when you deposit, and they'll match your deposit up to $200. So do that, and guys, for all of us, thank you. For all of us that if you just joined us, thank you. If you've been listeners, thank you. We really appreciate. None of this would be fun without having you guys out there. So thank you very much. And again, I do want to shout out Eli. If you're still watching, go to bed. I love you. Have a good night, guys.
Bye, Eli.